Welcome to the Draftstars AFL show with Smatho and Roody.
With thanks to Draftstars and to Daily Fantasy Rankings, your number one resource for your AFL DFS. This is the bonus edition of the Draftstars AFL show. $75,000 pool for the qualifying final between the Demons and the Swans. I'm Smatho. Roody's back to break down another game for his beloved Demons. Hello, Roody. How are you going today?
I'm going well, mate. I'm a little bit sore. Just got back from a little mini presentation night for my son's footy team. We did a dads versus kids game, and there's something about it when you're playing against your son. Firstly, I will say that my son picked up the ball. I made a beeline straight for him, stripped him of the ball, and then got tackled by an under 10. And we call this kid Tank, and he's a really good tackler, and he tackled me, and I got caught holding the ball. But no, it was good fun. Going to be sore tomorrow. Might get the massage gun out later on today. But no, looking forward to this contest. Of course, going to be cagey. The first Melbourne final I've been to in quite some time in person. But geez, it's a cracking game right now between Tigers and the Lions. A lot of lineups across the board have been just absolutely devastated by the news at halftime that Dion, the meatball, the human hamstring, has been subbed out of the game. 55% owned. That's going to hurt a lot of people. Yeah,
so they will be licking their wounds, but hopefully they'll be coming back for this particular game here already. That's just swings and roundabouts of AFL DFS at the moment, where these huge games, you get a couple of injuries. Sometimes you're on the bad end of it, sometimes you're on the good end. If you avoided Big O and avoided Prestia, you probably have some money in your account for this particular game. Kudos to you about your McStay in ruck kind of play. That's come up roses, hasn't it?
I mean, look, yeah. I knew. Rudy knew. Yeah, I did it. Yeah. But I was actually surprised to see it's about 25%. It's higher than I thought it would be, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, look, that happens, doesn't it? You get lucky on those plays sometimes. But yeah, Dev Robinson, we said that he could be fake chalk, and he was, but he was only 25% or something like that as well. So 22, I think. So yeah, be a really good finish to this game. Yeah, really close game. That last goal for Brisbane kept them within 6 points. So anyway, not here to talk about what's happening right now. We're here to talk about what is happening tomorrow night, Smatho.
That's right. So you usually have one eye on the game. So hopefully you can keep your focus here for this particular match. $75,000. We're at the MCG. Roody's going to be there tomorrow night, 7:50 p.m. start, the traditional Friday start. Let's have a look at the teams this evening. Not much to report on here. The Swans are actually unchanged. So Sammy Wicks was the sub last week. He's not even named as an emergency. So, look, isn't Callum Sinclair retired? So you'll see either Harry Cunningham, Brady Campbell as the sub.
Campbell, yeah.
For the Demons, Christian Salem is a big in for them. For Jake Bowie, James Jordan will probably be the sub for them again. No, he's not even named as a sub.
James Jordan's been sent for surgery, so he will take no further part in the season. Yeah, he's done. Cooked.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Roody. Sorry about that. I thought I just assumed, but as it says Medi sub, I thought he was just ready to go. So there you go. Look, obviously, you don't really need to explain what really happens here. Obviously, Christian Salem comes in for that back line, shores that up a little bit. But your overall thoughts on this particular slate then?
Yeah, so it's going to be a really good game, hopefully. Sydney have been they've had a really good season. I mean, I love Sydney. They're my favorite. They're my second favorite team. Have been for a long, long time, since the days of Paul Kelly and those kind of guys who I just love the way they go about it. And so and it's hard to get a form line about these. I mean, obviously Sydney have been really up and about the whole season. Melbourne, as we know, haven't played that well the whole season, but have done enough in parts And then last week, but last game, they absolutely turned it on against Brisbane. But, as we've learned, because Brisbane have actually turned up tonight, Brisbane were woeful that night. So how much do you look into Melbourne's form? They have had major issues moving the ball inside 50, and against the Swans and intercept defenders, the McCartan boys, Rampy, and then feeding Lloyd on the outside. I mean, geez, they could really set up against our forwards. But the thing I do like about Melbourne is they did really look to move the ball differently last week. So it's all about clearances for me. It's all about centre square work and work around the ground clearances. If Melbourne can get on top of that, if they can move the ball as well as they did against Brisbane, then they should win. But do not underestimate Sydney. I think they are a bit of not a dark horse because they've been doing well, but yeah, they're a really good chance to go far this final series.
Yeah, this is going to be a cracking game. In terms of what the data says on Daily Fantasy ranking, there's not really too much here to sink your teeth in. Obviously, the Swans concede not much fantasy points over the season. Melbourne around that mid-table there. The one that we've been banging on all year about Melbourne games is that they give up points to midfielders. So in the last 5 games, the premium midders are going around 105 there. And also for backs has always been a bit of an outlet for us to target for Melbourne. But they have brought it back a little bit in their last 5 for premium backs. So just the 88 per premium back in their last 5 games, whereas the Sydney's down here around that 86. So you could lean on that angle, targeting Sydney backs. But Melbourne have certainly tied it up in the last 5 games. So that's available at dailyfantasyrankings.com.au. Rudy, let's bring up the slate. We'll start with the rucks. Max Gawn is obviously going to be a key piece here for Melbourne's chances to win. He's at $14,930. He goes up against Sammy Reid, who's actually more expensive than Tom Hickey. Sam Reid's 11.7. Tom Hickey's at 9,910. It seems to be a fait accompli for Max Gawn in this matchup.
Yeah, I definitely think that he'll easily win the ruck contests. But I actually think that from a DFS perspective, that all 4 rucks are kind of in play for me. Sam Reid last out against Melbourne had an awesome game, and he has been in pretty good form recently as well. Despite what the box scores show, he has been jumping up for a couple of goals here and there, and that second ruck role that he plays. So don't discount him in your lineups. Probably Sam Reid would be my least rostered ruckman, but my order of preference would go Max Gawn definitely as the number 1 choice if you can fit him in, because there are a lot of high-priced options on this slate. So Max Gawn definitely has the highest ceiling of all these guys. It goes without saying. I think 5 even is a pretty good price for Maxi. He is Mr. Finals as well. His last few final games have been absolutely amazing. You won't see that in the box scores, but take my word for it. So Sam Reid, I would be the lowest on him, but definitely wouldn't ignore him altogether. Luke Jackson has been quite consistent with his 70s in the past couple of games. I got an awful text message this morning from a mate of mine who said he'd heard a rumour that Jacko was going to stay. And then the whole day I was checking Twitter incessantly, and it appears just to be a cruel, cruel rumour. So every time this boy plays, I just get so sad that he's going to leave us. So don't go, Lukey, don't go. That's not you, Smatho. That's Luke Jackson. No. My man from the old Draftstars draft competitions, Tommy Hickey, who I famously took with the number 1 pick on one draft. I actually, 10 even, pretty good price. Yes, he does split it with Sam Reid, but it's more of a relief role for Sam Reid rather than a genuine dual ruck role. So anytime you see not a solo ruck, but a 75% ruck at under 10, I think you should be interested. I don't know if you can check this on DFR, Smatho, but I just have a feeling that Hickey usually does pretty well against Max Gawn. I don't know if that's verified by actual data. I don't know if you can check that. So to put you on the spot.
Nice.
But I just have a sneaky feeling that maybe he doesn't have big scoring games against Max, but at least he keeps him in check. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so this is the ruck tool here on DFR's website. We're at round 12. He didn't play. Peter Laddams and Sebiere went up against Gawn. Gawn at 149 that particular. I might have to look at 2021. Let's have a look here. All the way down to Sydney.
This is great TV, by the way, guys. This is great TV.
Played round 2. P. Hunter. That's St Kilda. Sorry.
Mate.
There
we go. Halfway down.
Round 8. Tommy Hickey had 74 fantasy points. Max Gawn at 108.
Yeah. So, I mean, you take
43 hit outs.
Yeah, you'd take that. You know, if you say that a 10K Tom Hickey is going to score 74, then you'd back yourself in to use that $4,000 to make up the 30 points. You know, so anyway, yeah. Look, Max Gawn. The data says that he should have a really good night. He is 15,000, so you will need to make some sacrifices to fit him in, but definitely the high ceiling play goes without saying.
All right, let's move on to defence. So Andy Brayshaw now has dual position status here as a defender midfielder. I think rightly so. He's been playing really well through halfback, through the midfield as well. 15,100 is available. Jake Lloyd, his price is going back up a little bit more. We did get to the low 13s, high 12s there for a stage, so he's back up to 14,100. Christian Salem is the one that's going to be a topic of discussion here already. So 12,570. Obviously, he didn't play in round 23, but 104.99 seems to be very, very attractive at that $12,500 price.
Yeah, definitely. So, Gus Brayshaw has just had a stellar season. Love him to bits, absolutely. 15 creeping up there. He's been up there the last couple of games at 15, but I think that he definitely has that ceiling, that 120, 130 ceiling for sure, which at 15 you'd be happy with. And on the wider wings of, the MCG with his dual mid and wing role now, I think that there is definitely a case to be made for Gus. Jackie Lloyd has probably had his, he'd be disappointed with his fantasy output this year, I reckon. Actually, do players even give a shit about their fantasy output? I mean, we're disappointed with his fantasy output. He probably doesn't care. Let's be honest. Unless he had himself in a draft or something. So Jackie Lloyd. Look, you can take the narrative that defenders against Melbourne, but it's more the interceptors that do well against Melbourne rather than the distributors, like Lloyd is. And then if we keep on going down the list, Salem, I'm pretty sure that it was a single slate Friday night. We were talking. It was a Melbourne game, and I said Christian Salem, he's crap. He's not scoring well, and then he went out and scored that 83. I think it was against the Bulldogs or something like that. So Salo, he's definitely at that price has to be considered for a 110, 120 ceiling on a really ceiling game for him. Definitely in consideration. A little bit of concern about the injury, but they wouldn't, he's had a couple of weeks now. He didn't play last week, so he's had basically, the best part of 2 and a bit weeks off. I think you can put him in with some kind of certainty. Stevie May always gets a little bit overlooked, I think. He's had some really decent games recently. And look, it's not that I'm worried about Sydney's forwards. It's just that they're quite dynamic, with Buddy, of course, and Haywood and Sammy Reid when he goes down there as well. And then they're kind of mid-sized forwards like Keaney. So look, Stephen May, I think I'm still going to have him on my short list. So definitely. And I don't think he'll be highly owned tonight either. All right, then we've got this really big cluster of mid-price Sydney players, and Robbie Fox won someone a bag of money and then hasn't really gotten near those lofty heights. But if you look at his box scores, the days where he goes nuts, he does have a lot of marks as a bit of an interceptor. So Robbie Fox could be considered tonight. and then Blakey as well. Florent and McInerney, again, they've kind of disappointed me a little bit. I thought they'd have real good seasons after, especially McInerney after a breakout season last year, but he's gone a little bit backwards. So no real choice there, but you will get decent ownership away from Blakey, of course, and even Robbie Fox or some of those other guys. Dane Rampy, really like his price. I really like his matchup. I don't, I think he's the one who could potentially get a little bit free. So I don't mind a bit of Rampy action and try and chase those high 80s, 90s scores from Rampy. And then you've got your lower price players, Paddy McCartan. I mean, look, you could take a punt on a ceiling game from Paddy. But geez, he's got a super low floor as well. So you really have to be quite ballsy to do that. What else can we talk about here? Hibbard's had the shits the last day or so. Gastro's gone. I don't know what is with Simon Goodwin and Gastro on the eve of finals. So Gastro's gone through the club and Hibbard's got it. Be wary of that. But yeah, decent scores last up here wasn't that good, but maybe a 60-70 at that price, not too bad. Jaden Hunt has actually been playing some decent footy. He's kind of been ignored a little bit by the commentators, but he's been playing some decent footy. Yeah, 77 last out. At 8-2, that you'd take that any day of the week. So I actually had him in my first team that I was playing around with. So don't mind a bit of Jaden Hunt. But below that, there's not too much to get excited about. Trent Rivers I'd really like him as a player. I'm a huge fan, but so I'm actually genuinely surprised he hasn't been able to take a step up in terms of fantasy output. I just thought he would be our next kind of Salem-type distributor, but he's playing more lockdown roles. So he probably does he get a job on Heaney. It's probably a good size matchup for him, especially if Hibbard isn't quite right. I think Hibbard takes first crack at Heaney. So Rivers could go to Papley instead. And then Tommy McCartan, Harrison Petty, no interest.
There you go. Midfielders. Callum Mills, 16,460 leads this one, although just $100 behind at 16,360. Obviously, in a vacuum, you'll probably assume that Oliver gets more ownership than Mills. Petrarca's at 14,780. He seemed to be bouncing back from his he's a bit of a yo-yo. Obviously, there is a couple of smaller scores, but you can go big when required. Parker there at 14,740 seems to be a good slate winner as well. If you're trying to ignore his 73 from last week, that might get a few to jump off. You just don't know. Vanie at 14.4, and then obviously Chad Warren at 13.3. So Rudy, starting at the top, you probably have to make a decision between Mills and Oliver, considering that the value options are not exactly sexy on this particular game. So if you were to choose one, who would you like to have in your team?
Yeah, well, I think before we ask this question, we have to ask another one, which was, where does Ryan Clark go? Does he go to Oliver? And then if he goes to Oliver, obviously the answer is Mills. And just as we don't have great form, Smatho, with suggesting what's going to happen with tags, because last night we were adamant that no one gets tagged, and then Dev Robbo went straight to Prestia for a tagging job tonight. So, you'd probably, there's no one else really I would consider that Ryan Clark would go to. I don't think Petrarca is the kind of person you tag, just because his explosive nature, like he's not an endurance mid, he's an explosive mid. So I think you do go with Oliver for a tag. And if you're not tagging Oliver, why the hell are you having Ryan Clark in your team? Let's be honest. No offense, Ryan Clark, but that's all you can do.
Before you keep going, so obviously I've just brought up the tagging tool on DFR. Round 12, yes. See, Oliver was attempted to be a tag, but he had 102. But as you can see, the scores lately, second half tag on Himmelberg, that's an interesting one for 69. Dacos is 65, and Sinclair with 99. So, yes, the Swans do tag. And obviously, if you look at Melbourne have been a clean sheet all year, so we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
Carry on, please.
Yeah. So, but following that, I'd go for Mills if I was going to go for one of them. Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
So, if you bring up the slate for us again, please, mate. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So then, Truck's a really good price at Truck and Parker, I think, are both really good prices at 14.7, sorry. Petrarca, he's adjusting. They've changed roles slightly. Brayshaw, he's been the way to make way for Brayshaw in the midfield a little bit. So Petrarca's gone out to more of a, to be honest, if we were still doing regular fantasy, I wouldn't be surprised if Champion Data gave him forward status soon, such as the time that he's playing in forward 50. But be that as it may, I'd still definitely have Truck on my list for that price. Parker as well, super consistent, had a really underrated season. Sometimes the Melbourne press is a little bit Melbourne focused, but Luke Parker has been fantastic this year. And then the one just underneath him, little sneaky feeling for me. I'll put him in a couple of teams. I won't be heavy on him, but Jack Vanie. If you look at his box scores, he's been a little bit low. Last time was a shocker. But even before that, he's had some really huge games. So getting onto a Jack Vanie when everyone's going to Truck or Oliver could get you a little bit of leverage there. I have been really heavy on Chad Warner throughout the season. I played a lot of him early on, but I reckon I'm going to go a little bit under the field on Chad Warner tonight and instead go to Parker instead. And the one who I actually think, the mid who I think might get some of the highest ownership is right below Warner, and that's James Robottom. He's had a fantastic little last month or so, really, really good. I think we've spoken about Robottom before on single slates, with his knee full performances in the past. And now he's actually getting some proper midfield time. And he's a tackling machine, really good. He's a good footballer. It's simple. It's a good footballer. In the mid forwards, I do like Golden. This kid's a real deal. When you wait a couple of years, he'll be one of the best players in the competition. So at 12, mid 12s, not a bad play. I think the ownership, hopefully, will be a little bit low because I don't mind taking a punt on him. Going down the list. Not too much interest in Papley and Stevens. Maybe a little bit more on Stevens as a kind of I'm not going to be really high on him, but Papley in a Swans win team, maybe I can make a case for that. And then Langdon, I do like. Price is low on the back of a few sub par games for him over the last month or so I don't mind that price for Langdon. And then, of course, one of the highest owned players on the slate again will be James Harms. With that price, which hasn't gone up on the back of the algorithm is still factoring those sub games. So Harms at 8.5 will be, I'll be shocked if he's not the highest owned player on the slate. Absolutely shocked.
Good summary there, Rudy. Let's wrap things up by looking at the forwards. Isaac Keaney. Now, we talked about, obviously, Tommy Lynch last night having a very high salary. I have to come back. And he said, what about Heaney? I said, you do have a point. 13,240. Those are really good scores there. Nothing below 90 since the 8th of July. So that warrants a $13,000 price tag. The rest of the guys we've spoken about, down to Lance Franklin, he's 11-1. Game breaker in himself, can get really high on fantasy scores. Will Hayward's at 10-4-10 with a good average there in his last three of 84. So these guys are not cheap. They're not priced down around these 8-9K. Yeah. You do have to get 5 figures to them, which means if you stack in your midfield, you're not getting to these guys in your forward line, aren't you, Rudy?
No, it's a good point, Smatho. Heaney's been so good. And if you look at his box scores, he's just been, I reckon he's had like 4 or 5 shots on goal for the last 6 weeks. So if you look at his, so it's at 4, 5, 3, 5, 4, 3, 4. Like he's seriously good footballer. He is one of my favorite players to watch outside of the red and blue. Just that, like he's a footballer's footballer. You know, that old cliche. Like, he's just a really good player. He's going to definitely be in some of my lineups. I like his price. I like the role. I like the potential output in this slate. So yeah, Heaney, I'll be keen on. Buddy, I mean, you can't discount a big buddy game. But a big buddy game at the moment is what, 80, 90 at that price on this slate. You can't really make a big case for him, which is good. That's what we want, isn't it? We want people that can be little sneakies. So Buddy, tournament play only for me. Jackson, we've spoken about. Will Hayward, I want to spend a bit of time talking about him. Really underrated player again for me. And Melbourne's kind of got a habit for these kind of second-tier players doing well against Melbourne. Jack Martin kicked 3. We made Mason Cox look like the next Wayne Carey. These kind of second-rung players, especially forwards, do sometimes bob up. So, yeah, Hayward especially, I'm a little bit annoyed that his recent scores have been good because I was hoping he was going to go under radar a little bit. But he's a great little sneaky play, Hayward, for about 10 even. Pretty good price. But let's be honest, to get value, he's got to kick 3 at least and have like 6-7 marks. So yeah, a good play, but risky as well for how much he is. Of the Melbourne forwards, probably have the most interest in Fritsch and Cozzy Pickett. Their recent form, Cozzy's been tearing it up. Of course, hasn't done much around the ground, but in front of the goals, he's been fantastic. Not much interest in the other ones in Brown and Spargo. Not much interest there at all. Logan McDonald, nah. Ben Brown, not really. Jake Melksham, I mean, we saw the best that he could do, the best game he's ever played in the red and blue the other night, a couple of weeks ago. But now that he's up to 7, not so keen on him, unless you're going for a team jam him in. And then Ryan Clark stays around the 6 for his whole life, I think. And can he get the 50, 60 and 80? Yeah, of course he can. But he's not a sexy play, not a sexy play at all. So no real interest in those bottom price forwards for me.
He's not a sexy player, but he could be like a necessary player. Thinking, well, I can just chuck a 40 and 56K and wear it and see if I can spend it elsewhere. As we said, if you're not having pay down options in your ruck and defenders, then you will have to, pay down for Ryan and milkshakes and Spargo and all that. Because if you like these guys up the top here in terms of Heaney and that, you can't really have both of them unless you make sacrifices everywhere. So very interesting slate, Roody. This is going to be very keen observations on ownerships on Friday night. And I'm looking forward to your team of Friday night. Take it from the top.
All right, just give me one moment. Just going to make one change.
Right. Who's your ruck?
I had to do it. For the listeners, I had to. All right. So this is a bit of there's no correlation in this team. But I was actually having a really good chat. Apologies, listeners. I can't remember who I was talking to. I had a few of the pails at the live final. And it was weird, like talking to people and they were introducing themselves as their actual names rather than their usernames. And anyway, my point, we were chatting about the American sports and correlation and all that kind of stuff. And, and how people hunt for correlation sometimes in AFL that just isn't there. So this is a total random team for me, but let's put it in and see how we go. All right. So in the ruck, I have Luke Jackson, please.
Okay. Luke Jacko taking on his floor at 10,800.
Yep. Then I've got Stephen May and Dane Rampy.
You're keen on Ramps tomorrow?
Yeah.
You reckon you'll go on Kaiser Pickett? Who'll be on old Kais?
Who's Kais? Who's Kais Pickett?
Oh, sorry. Keziah Pickett.
Is that like Andrew Brayshaw that's apparently playing tomorrow night as well?
Yeah.
You thought I was going to let that one slip, but I had to bring it back.
Nothing like a Draftstars AFL show about like 4 names I can't get right.
I'm trying to bring up the team sheet, but it's not happening for me. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't really considered that. That's a really good point there. They don't really have a good matchup. You got the Lizard King, potential matchup. But yeah, I suppose Rampy does try and go with him. Good luck for that. Yeah, good point. Anyway, I don't think that changes much for me having Rampy in my team. I do have enough to get up to Robbie Fox or Ollie Florent or even Blakey, but I've gone with Rampy. So yeah, yep. Then into my midfield, I have gone with James Harms, of course. Ed Langdon, really like that price of 10. Then I've gone for Luke Parker and James Robottom. So no, I've not avoided, but I haven't taken any of the top tier Melbourne mids, which probably will hurt me because they'll probably win the game for us. And then to finish it off in my forward line, I've gone for Isaac Heaney and Cozzy Pickett.
There he is. And you've got a bit of money to spare just in case you want to tinkle that.
Yeah, I got about $900 left, so I can get away from Rampy, or I can change Parker to Brayshaw or Petrarca. Yeah, I can do a little bit of changing around there. Yep. But like I said, I really think that the two most owned players will be James Harms and James Robottom. But apart from that, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can't really get a lot of those higher price mids in the same team. So it'll be interesting to see the way that people go about it. The only way you could do it is if you go for you have to put Clark in. So you put Clark and, like you said, milkshakes in your forward line, and, maybe you go all the way down to Trent Rivers. We called him Jared Rivers. Trent Rivers. And then you can do it and take a Hickey instead. And then you can get some, Truck and Mills and maybe Robottom as well. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your insights for the Swans and the Demons for Friday night. Quick shout outs again. AFLW is available on Draftstars. That's throughout the weekend. Make sure you get them to jump onto those. NFL will be available Friday. So look out for the first contest for that particular
tomorrow. Is that tomorrow, Smatho?
Well, when we're talking about the show, we're talking about Friday. So before Friday night games start, you should be able to see NFL on Draftstars. So we're looking forward to a huge season with NFL. Good luck tomorrow, Rudy. Hopefully you'll get the week off. If not, we'll be back talking about Demons on Friday night next week. It should be fun time.
Yeah, my son already saying to me, Dad, do we have to go? Can I watch it from home because he's nervous? But mate, no, got to face our fears. So it should be a good game of football, and hopefully my Demons do come away with a win.
Excellent. All right. We'll look forward to seeing the next episode of the Draftstars AFL show. Make sure you leave a like and a comment on the subscriptions and all those things you need to do when you look at these kind of videos or podcasts. So look forward to seeing you Thursday night for the live stream back at 8:30, and we'll catch you then. Thanks, Rudy.
See you later.
See you later.